What is up, everybody? It's Dane here, back with another movie review, as you saw in the title. And starting this video with this movie review, every movie review I will do for the foreseeable future will be now titled College Students or College Student Watched blank, whatever. That's gonna be the new title for my movie reviews. So easier to make a playlist out of them. So this is technically the second edition, even though it's gonna be the first one with that title. Because I forgot it. Because I just thought about it now. So Wicked, my movie review for Wicked has a different title. Okay, so yeah, I'm back with the movie review while Lance is busy working on our vlogs editing. So I was able to watch Captain America: Brave New World a while ago, actually, since we had no Socksai and no Cass. So I was able to watch it with Kyle and Julio, who, by the way, you will meet in a vlog pretty soon. Pretty soon. Lance is just working on it. So yeah, we were able to watch the new Captain America, and I was actually gonna do a movie review in like the cinema itself, or just outside the cinema in the mall itself, but my phone was 5% because Lance decided to use up my fucking power bank. So I was stuck in the mall 5%, and I had to book a taxi to get home. So I was like, ah, shit, I'll just film a movie review when I get home. And I got home, charged my phone. Now here I am. It's like, what time is it? It's 10 p.m. And yeah, so during that time I was able to process the movie a little bit, you know, and think about it more and just cement my thoughts on it. So, okay, here we go. Loki, better than I expected. Like, my expectations for this movie were very low because this movie underwent a lot of rewrites and a lot of reshoots during its production. And usually, let's not lie, that's not a good sign. Like, reshoots are normal, but when you do it that much and you have a ton of rewrites, at one point Seth Rollins was supposed to be in this movie, by the way, and this movie was supposed to be about the Serpent Society. It was literally titled Serpent Society. Until they did like Seth Rollins. There was already a behind the scenes photo of Seth Rollins. Like, he was on set with the costume. I'm pretty sure he already filmed scenes, but they decided to rewrite the entire movie. Like, not the entire movie, but rewrite most of it. And the Serpent Society thing was just out. Seth Rollins was cut out from the movie, and a few other actors too.
What's going on with Captain America: Brave World?
Uh,
Are you
re-
still in it?
Releases in February. I wish it the best, but I am not a part of that film. So maybe there'll be like
What happened?
the script went through a lot of rewrites and reshoots, and so what I was there to do, essentially my role got either repurposed or completely erased, and so I did do a bit of an audition to possibly pop into another role, I believe, or the repurposing of my role. I'm not exactly sure on what it was, but they ended up going in a different direction with it. And yeah, from my understanding, there were just a lot of rewrites and a lot of reshoots, and they've got a finished product that hopefully they're happy with, and hopefully it's successful. But it will be sans Seth Rollins.
So, like, that was not a good sign when I heard about just how how much trouble they were having in the production of this movie. So I had very low expectations, and then the trailers came out, and a lot of people were impressed by the trailers. I personally wasn't. I was genuinely like, "What? How are y'all impressed with this? This seems like it's trying so hard to get the tone of Winter Soldier back." And that's exactly what this movie is. Like, it's better than I expected, granted. Like, I thought this movie would be really bad. Ends up just being mid. So it really just boils down to your expectations. So when it comes to this, it's the fourth movie in the Captain America uh franchise, I guess, or like films in the MCU. And the Captain America trilogy, I think, is one of the best superhero trilogies of all time, for sure. Like, First Avenger, I think, is very underrated. I personally really like the movie. Winter Soldier, I love. Civil War, I really love. And when I saw the trailer to this movie, yeah, like I said, it really looked like they were trying way too hard to, recapture the vibe and the tone and that political thriller uh, tone of Winter Soldier. And so I was like, it looked like discount Winter Soldier, you know, and that in a lot of ways that's what this movie is. Um, where do I start? Let's start with some positives actually. Great action sequences, very surprising. I thought the action in this movie would be very boring and generic. Loki, pretty good action sequences. Great choreography. I think the action sequences are at its best when it really just showcases Sam's armor suit capabilities, and you get a lot of moves from him. And I think he proves himself to be a really great like Captain America slash hero in this movie. Like we get to see more of him fighting, and they really do like showcase his skills, and they don't waste any of him, which is really nice. I will admit though there are my, some fight scenes hand to hand the editing was very choppy, and at one point I was like, okay, you're just doing that to hide some pretty bad choreography there. So like there are some, for the most part, great fight scenes, great action sequences, but there are some moments where it's like, oh man, the editing is very choppy, and I can barely see what the fuck's going on. At one point, like you see a lot of angles of Sam just punching or kicking someone. The fact that I can't tell says something. And yeah, so and Anthony Mackie's great. Joaquin Torres, I think, is it Joaquin Torres? Oh my gosh, huge mistake. It's not Joaquin Torres. Joaquin Torres is his character. Danny Ramirez, I mean, is the actor's name. I think the movie really did focus on his character, Joaquin Torres, and Sam Wilson's, like buddy, almost buddy cop like dynamic. And I think for the most part it works. Oh my god, it's like Maverick and Goose from Top Gun. Yeah, it's like that. For the most part, it works. I think they have great chemistry, and I'd love to see more of them in the future. But I think Harrison Ford, at times, it really is his movie. At times, I think I will get more into that later. But yeah, Harrison Ford is great as always. Like even though he doesn't like being in these blockbusters, at least he shows up and does the work. So yeah, I think Harrison Ford was great. I think yeah, everyone did great, and I think Anthony Mackie, in terms of like stepping up, he's now the lead. Like from Falcon, he's now literally Captain America, stepping up, as the lead in a huge movie like this. I think he did a great job for. Yeah, I think he did a great job, and I think one of my probably the most positive thing I can say about this movie, my favorite part, is I'm so happy that it brings back that continuity into the MCU. Like in terms of like it's setting up future movies, it's referencing past movies, it's following up past movies. I'm just so happy that they're bringing that back because that is something that has been missing for the past like 10 fucking films in the MCU post Endgame. It's like been missing so much. It's like and Marvel's has been making movies here, there. You've got Shang-Chi, Wakanda Forever, you got Eternals, you got this and that, and a lot of movies since Endgame where they're not even like interested in remotely connecting them. They're just dishing out these movies. Whereas this, I'm happy that it really is concerned about continuity within the MCU because at the end of the day, that's what made the MCU special. That's what made it. That's what built the hype around this universe. So I'm just happy that they're bringing that back. And I think in that sense, even though this movie isn't good exactly, I I I I think it's fair to say that Marvel is, I guess, going down the right path, or at least the more correct path, in terms of building its universe back up. Because yes, this movie, just so happy that it really brought back that continuity and it referenced previous films and it's setting up future films. And I'm really happy that it did that. And I guess that was honestly my favorite part about the movie. And now let's go into the negatives. Um, like I said, this movie really is setting up future movies, and I think that's part of my criticism is that this movie, it really didn't do anything else. It by the end I was like, oh, that was just, they just made that to set up other movies. It didn't feel like a fully fledged superhero MCU flick, like back to form. Nah, it's just straight up nah. They made this movie so they can set up future so they can set up future movies within this universe. And it just felt like such a, I wouldn't want to say cop out, but for the lack of a better term, cop out. It just felt lazy at times, and it just wasn't interested in being a good movie per se. It was just really, it was like more interested in building back this universe and setting up future movies instead of actually just focusing on its own first. And so okay, wait. So I was editing this review, and look, I'm in a fucking tank top right now. I was editing, and I noticed that I was pretty much contradicting myself since I said setting up the universe was one of my positives, while it's also in my negatives. To be clear, what I really meant to say was that I wish the film was more like the older MCU movies where they were setting up a universe, they were building it and setting it up while still focusing on the story and of the film itself and just trying to make a good movie. You know what I mean? That's more of what I meant to say. Yeah, the villain also is very ass in this movie. Like, okay, Giancarlo Esposito, who I thought would be the main villain in this movie, apparently he's not. He's barely in this movie. What you see in the trailer, that's it. Like that's pretty much it. That's all he does in this fucking movie. He's not in it much. Like I really thought he would be the main villain, but he's not. And the main villain is I don't want to spoil it, but it has been announced. But the main villain, spoiler alert, absolute spoiler alert. So you have 5 seconds to click away if you want to see the movie and you don't want to be spoiled. So the main villain is the guy from Incredible Hulk. What was his name? Well, see, I already forgot. Stearns, something Stearns. Samuel Stearns, who's also something like Leader. Yeah, in the comics he's called Leader. Yeah, he was in Incredible Hulk. He was the guy who was the professor who's like Bruce Banner's blood dripped on him in Incredible Hulk. Yeah, so that's him. And after 17 fucking years, they finally followed up the Incredible Hulk, which is part of my positives actually. Like this movie felt more like a sequel to the Incredible Hulk. You know what I mean? Because they were, I think that was like, a, it was following up a lot of stuff about from that movie, including Samuel Stearns, who is the main villain in this movie. Yeah, he was that guy in Incredible Hulk, and and they kind of wasted him. Granted, we could still see more of him in the future. I think they are setting him up for future movies, but in this one, he is a very shallow villain. They just turned his entire character arc into a revenge arc, and even then, his motivation for revenge, it just felt so like hollow and like not much setup for it, and I just couldn't care less about his entire plan. It just felt so stupid. And I think that's this the script for this movie. Like at times, it felt like they put they went to ChatGPT, they wrote down the characters, and they were like, make a political thriller similar to Captain America, the Winter Soldier, uh, and then blah 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 blah, and then to enter, and then they were like, oh my god, yeah. At times, that's what this movie felt like. I guess that brings me to the thing I really didn't like the most about this movie. Like I said in the beginning, when I watched the trailer, it felt like they a discount version of the Winter Soldier in terms of the political thriller aspect, and that's exactly what happened in this movie. The political thriller aspect that they were going for, it was so not interesting. I just wasn't on board. I just wasn't engaged at all. At like the first 15 minutes, I was actually interested in it. I was like, okay, they might be setting up something. And then halfway, I was like, oh my god, this is going on for too long. And you're taking yourselves way too seriously when this is so stupid. And I just couldn't be bothered. And I just couldn't get on board with it. Like it's so like you can feel the rewrites. You can really feel the rewrites in this movie. There was a scene like halfway through the movie where I was like, okay, they set up this thing. I don't want to spoil. I don't want to spoil too much about the movie, but they set up this thing like very early on. So I was like, okay, so that's what it's gonna lead up to, and then it goes a different direction, like a completely different direction. We're like, okay, so how are we gonna get back to that? And then they do get back to it, but it's so jarring and it's so out of place that you can really feel the rewrites. Like I can tell that they were supposed to do something different, but they decided, oh, let's go with this instead. And it just felt so jarring. It felt it just felt so weird to me. Like I really was halfway and I was like, oh, how the hell are they gonna get back to how the hell are they gonna get back to this thing that they set up early on? And then they do, but it just it just felt so empty. This movie just felt empty. That's actually, yeah, I think that's what I would call this movie, empty. Like when you compare it to The Winter Soldier and Civil War, which did the political thriller thing really, really well, this movie is a huge step down. Like, wow. It really did feel, it felt so artificial. It legit, at times, I was like, I feel like this feels like Chat GPT. I'm like, what's going on here? And it was, yeah, it was very weak, and it just felt so empty for a film that was taking itself way too seriously at times. I was like, oh man, kind of fucked that up. And Red Hulk. Oh yeah, Red Hulk. Also barely in this movie. For considering the little screen time he has, that one scene, what you see in the trailer, that's pretty much Red Hulk in this movie. Like that's it. That like Giancarlo Esposito, what you see in the trailer is what you get from them. Really. And you know, they showcased Red Hulk pretty well. I think we'll see more of him in the future. I hope. I hope, Marvel, please. And for that one scene, I think they didn't fuck him up. They showcased his powers really well. So that was cool to watch. But I think that's what this entire movie really is. What you see in the trailer, that's exactly what this movie is. There really is nothing more to it. I was so yeah, I went in expecting a terrible movie. I got something better, honestly. It was still mid, but better than I expected. Um, and yeah, for the most part, this movie really did feel like it was just checking boxes. Like they just made this movie to check some boxes. At times, it just felt unnecessary. It's like your existence isn't really justified. Like I get it. Like, you already tackled like Sam trying to become Captain America and Falcon was Winter Soldier, so you didn't have to do that here. I get that, but you could have focused on Sam being Captain America, but instead you just focus on other things. Like, I'm not gonna spoil anything, so just watch the movie if you can. But it it just didn't feel like a Captain America movie at times. It didn't feel like Sam as Captain America in his own movie. It didn't feel like that anymore. And I think it's not that he was overshadowed, it's just that the film decided to focus too much on other things. And can't say I'm disappointed. Like I said, rewrites, reshoots, trailer, not expecting much. So yeah, I just they could have hired like the same writers of Winter Soldier on this movie. I feel like that could have made it better. Like the political, like that aspect of the movie, it's like it's. I thought I would be engaged a little bit. I wasn't. I was just waiting for the action sequences at one point. Like, and I'm not that kind of person all the time. Like I want to be invested in that kind. If you're going for something like that, I want to be interested. For a superhero movie to go for a political thriller vibe, I want to be interested. But I wasn't. I was just waiting for the action at that point. I was like, oh my god, can we just get to the action? Oh my god, can we just get to like the villain, the reveal, whatever, and see more of the villain? But after they do reveal what happened, nothing else happens. Like, you get an action sequence, and then you just get more of the villain's bullshit, and it's just, man, it just felt like a wasted movie. Like, you could have actually made something good, but but it just felt like you weren't interested in doing so. And I'm not here to disparage anyone who worked on this movie. I'm not. Like, it's hard to make a movie. It's hard to write a script. It's hard to make a movie. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. I get it. I get that. I really do. I'm not here to take that away from the the team behind this movie. But at one point, I'm just telling you how I saw it. I'm just telling you how it is and what I felt like. And it just didn't, it just felt artificial, and it felt lazy, and it felt absolutely shallow. But like I said, I still have positives in this movie. Like, I'm happy that it got that continuity back to the MCU. It brought that back. It brought back that cohesiveness back to the MCU, even though this movie isn't all that cohesive. Yeah, this movie is absolutely messy. But yeah, and you got Anthony Mackie, he's great. Danny Ramirez, Joaquin Torres, he's great. Uh, Harrison Ford's great. Performances, I think, all around, they're good. The action sequences, for the most part, they're great. Even though some are just, fix the editing, guys. It felt very generic at times because of the editing. But yeah, in terms of showcasing Sam, in terms of showcasing Red Hulk, I think they did a good job with those two characters for the most part, even though we barely got Red Hulk. Like I said, we'll see more of these characters in the future. I hope. So by then, I do hope that they're given justice. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's my thoughts on Captain America: Brave New World. Absolutely messy movie, but better than I expected. So if you just want to have a fun time, I guess, in theaters, like, cause like, yeah, if you just want to have a fun time, go ahead. Like, when we watched this, there was like a family in front of us, and there was a kid, and he seemed to have a good time. So at that point, I was like, oh, if he had a good time, then fuck it, you know. At least he had a good time. And so yeah, like, if you just want to have fun time, just turn your brain off type movie. go ahead, watch this. But yeah, I wouldn't even say it's turn your brain off movie because they want they want you to think, but they just don't realize how stupid it actually is and how just boring that the political thriller aspect gets. So yeah, there's that. So messy movie with a few positives, and yeah, I think that's my final thoughts on Captain America: Brave New World. Out of 10 Bob Rosses, like I was expecting a 4. I got. I'll give this like a 5.3 out of 10. It's better than I expected. Considering all the rewrites, all the reshoots, I was expecting like a Madam Web type of quality, but at least we didn't get that. At least there's something to like. There's something to genuinely like about this movie. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Captain America: Brave New World. Um, Speaking of MCU, I am very excited for Thunderbolts and the Fantastic Four. Like when I watched the trailer for this Captain America, like I said, I wasn't impressed. I didn't think it would be all that good. I was right, kind of better than I expected. But Thunderbolts looks pretty darn good. Like it looks like it's bringing back those old school Phase Two vibes of the MCU, where it's just focusing on those characters, building, setting them up, and I just hope I'm really rooting for Thunderbolts. Fantastic Four First Steps looks great. I cannot wait for that movie. Like great cast. You got a great cast. You got Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, Evan Moss, fucking Backrack. Um, that's cousin, bro. That's my cousin. And then you got Galactus in there. Like, can't wait for Fantastic Four. That looks very good. And so yeah, like I said a while ago, I just hope the MCU really is just going back. I wouldn't say back exactly back to form, just going down a more correct path, going down the right path in terms of just building this universe back up. I just hope it does that soon. I really am rooting for this universe. I just want it to just go back to form. I don't think it's ever gonna reach the peak of the Infinity Saga because come on, like that was absolutely peak. But just as long as it becomes more consistent, like consistently good, uh, please just build this universe back up, and I think we won't have a problem. So yeah, those are my final thoughts. Comment below what are your thoughts on Captain America: Brave New World if you have watched it, and if you haven't seen it, are you still into the MCU? Little question. Comment below. And so yeah, to the 10 people watching this, please continue to support the channel, like, subscribe, and we will post hopefully we will post a vlog very soon. Lance is working on it. I hope he's we'll post a video within this week. We do promise we will be more consistent with our uploads. That is a promise. I hope we can keep that. You can never expect. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Captain America: Brave New World. Like I said, so this has been your boy Dane, and I will see you on the next one. Bye. Bye.